Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling the global weather scene for June 9th, 2025. We've got a stack of reports, WMO, NOAA, UK Met Office.
Quite a mix of sources today.
Yeah, and our goal is really to, pull up key insights, connect some dots, and get a handle on what's actually happening. We've got everything from, intense heat waves to tropical storms.
It's definitely a day with a lot going on globally.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting baseline condition setting the stage.
Okay, let's start there then. The sources all point to the tropical Pacific being ENSO neutral right now. Normally, that means no big El Nino or La Nina pushing things around globally.
Right, but here's the kicker. Despite that neutrality, we're seeing really widespread, persistent above normal sea surface temperatures pretty much everywhere else. The Atlantic especially is, well, notably warm.
And these warm oceans, they're not just sitting there.
No, absolutely not. Think of them as huge energy reservoirs. They hold vast amounts of heat and moisture, constantly feeding the atmosphere.
Which I guess leads straight to the temperature outlook. The WMO report suggests a really high chance, over 80% of above normal temps for almost all land areas through August.
Exactly, between 60 south and 60 north, basically.
Yeah.
And this is a really critical point. We used to strongly link the hottest years globally to big El Nino events.
Right.
But now, we're in a neutral phase, yet we're seeing this kind of widespread, intense warmth predicted and, frankly, already happening. It tells us the whole baseline climate system has warmed significantly.
So the planet doesn't need that El Nino kick anymore to get these extremes.
It seems the underlying warming trend is becoming powerful enough on its own. It's maybe even the main driver now for this level of heat.
Okay, let's look at specific examples. What does this feel like on the ground? The reports mention intense heat waves, Western U.S.
Yeah, record-breaking stuff for early June. Western Washington, Seattle hitting 90 Fahrenheit under a heat advisory. That's unusual.
Wow, and further south.
Much more extreme. Las Vegas, the Southwest, they're under an extreme heat warning. We're talking 105 to 110 degrees, maybe near 120 in Death Valley.
That's dangerous for early June.
Definitely. The reports call it dangerously hot, something like 8 to 12 degrees above normal. It really underscores how summers seem to be starting earlier, hitting harder. Reminds you about heat safety hydration, cooling centers, checking on vulnerable people.
And across the pond, in the UK, the Met Office is talking about rising temperatures too, maybe 29 Celsius.
Yes, but the crucial thing they highlight is the humidity. High humidity makes those temperatures feel much more oppressive. And warm nights too, offering little relief.
That humidity factor is key, isn't it? Stops your body cooling down properly.
Precisely. Makes even moderate heat feel dangerous.
Okay, shifting gears from heat to, water. Storms, the Pacific seems active. Tropical storm, Barbara.
That's right, near Mexico. Winds around 70 miles, expected to become a hurricane. The main worry isn't the wind hitting land directly, but the rain.
How much rain?
They're forecasting potentially 2 to 4 inches on the coast. That means definite risks of flooding, mudslides, plus dangerous surf. And there's another storm, Cosme, further out, and maybe a third system developing.
So, quite an active start, even if the seasonal forecast hinted at maybe below normal overall.
Yeah, it shows those seasonal outlooks are just probabilities. You can still get significant storms, especially early on.
And over the U.S. mainland, thunderstorms.
Yep, a level 2 slight risk covering big areas, southeast, northeast, Gulf Coast. Hazards like damaging wind, some hail, maybe isolated tornadoes.
And back in the UK, that heat and humidity we mentioned, that's fueling storms too.
Expected to, yes. Later in the week, they're forecasting intense thundery showers. You can see heavy downpours, maybe 20-40 millimeters in just a few hours.
Okay, so this brings us back to that connection you mentioned earlier, the warm oceans, the atmosphere.
Exactly. A warmer atmosphere fundamentally holds more moisture. The rule of thumb is about 7% more water vapor for every degree Celsius of warming.
And that directly translates to heavier rain when it does rain.
It boosts the potential for heavy rain. Whether it's a tropical system like Barbara dumping inches or those intense thunderstorms in the US or UK, the fuel is there.
So if we pull all these threads together, the widespread heat, these intense storms, the unusually warm oceans, all happening without a strong El Nino. What's the main takeaway from the science in these reports?
Well, the consensus, looking at bodies like the IPCC and attribution groups like World Weather Attribution, is pretty clear. Climate change, human-caused climate change, is making heat waves more frequent, longer, and hotter.
I remember reading some studies saying past heat waves were basically impossible without it.
WWA has found exactly that for some events. And that recent report covering the past year found climate change at least doubled the number of extreme heat days in nearly 200 countries. And the extra moisture. That links directly to projections of hurricanes delivering, say, 10-15% more rain by the end of this decade. High confidence in that.
So these extremes, even in an ENSO-neutral period, are like a big flashing sign of that warmed baseline. Climate change is loading the dice.
That's a good way to put it. Loading the dice for more frequent, more intense, and more diverse extremes happening maybe even at the same time across the globe. The underlying human fingerprint is becoming clearer and clearer.
So for you listening, what does this mean looking ahead? Short term, well, continued global warmth seems very likely this summer. Rainfall will be patchy, meaning risks of drought in some places, heavy rain and floods in others.
And the long-term view from the sources really emphasizes the challenge of adapting. One report even mentioned preparedness gaps in developed countries like the UK. It's not just about cutting future emissions, though that's vital. It's about building resilience now.
Adaptation and rapid emissions cuts working together.
That's the necessary path.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. As these kinds of events stack up year after year, how is that blurring the line we used to draw between everyday weather and long-term climate? And maybe more importantly, what does that blurring mean for how we understand the world and how we prepare for what's coming?